Hello, this is Todd Schultz, and this is my EDL 901, Module 7, the Big Technology Infrastructure Audit. Built this presentation in Canva and had a very good time doing it, and I just thought it'd be kind of fun to present it as a comprehensive guide, that something that I can refer to later and also maybe use as a professional presentation. The primary topics that I'm going to discuss and show through this TIA is going to be the timeline that we would use, going through committee selection and all of the important steps that take place there, the design and creation of the TIA, the supporting resources within the community and outside of the school district, the privacy and security concerns, as well as partnerships within the community and in the school district, and also the key points from all of the resources. I put together a timeline that lasts over a year, and this was kind of gleaned from one of the resources that said this needs to take an entire year in order for this process to really come into fruition and be done properly. I think it's important, though, as we get into it and the committee is formed and we know exactly who's doing what, we come up with dates that are going to be more concrete, not just fall, spring, summer. We come up with actual dates that we're going to be hitting certain targets and goals. But you can see there that we have the committee formation at the beginning, the development of the TIA, any revisions and community input, on through the execution, the Board of Education approvals, actually purchasing equipment and building infrastructure, and then device deployment or upgrades to the system. And then at the end I have monitor and update. That's something that'll need to take place over the course of several years. It's an ongoing step. The committee selection is a critical first step, and it has to be done with really careful consideration. Who are you going to plug into this committee that's going to maximize the efficiency of the committee as well as their expertise? So I think it's important to include multiple groups of people, from students in multiple grade levels, teaching staff from a variety of grade levels, and content. That's important, not just to include the tech people. Administration leads, these would be at the building level, your principals or assistant principals. Also designated technology staff, and those can be building or district level. Members of the community and professionals in the field of technology. I think it's real important that it's methodical how you form this committee, and it's purposeful. And I think this list that I provide with help from the Brown reference is very, very purposeful. It tells us kind of what the people from each group or subgroup will be asked to be able to do. Technology and security team has to have lots of roles, as they're kind of the main people that are going to be leaned on through this whole endeavor. The students, what kind of things are we looking for from them? Community members, teaching staff. We want to make sure that we have some go-to teaching staff in each building. Areas of concern, because they're the ones utilizing it every day to meet students' learning outcomes. And then, of course, the administration has to have a clear tech mission and goals. They're the ones that are going to be managing this whole thing, the teams, the timeline, purchasing power, and they're going to be making sure the board stays up to date on all of this. Now, the design of the TIA, everything needs to tie back to the tech mission and goals. Everything in the recommendations of the TIA needs to be about collaboration and outside, inside resources, tangible and non-tangible items. What are we purchasing? What are we buying with the taxpayer money? Privacy and security are going to be big things in the development, as well as the upkeep of the infrastructure. And the audit should set out to answer very, very key questions and identify and outline the needs of the school district and what exactly we're going to be doing with this technology. It should incorporate a lot of people on the internal district side as well as the external. There should be review from both sides. That way, if something is missed or something is overlooked, we can get that caught and get that included in the TIA before we do a full rollout. This is important, especially when we're looking at all the data and analyzing what that tells us about the process that we're undertaking. The process of the TIA really has to be made for current and future needs. We're not just looking for, most likely the district is going to have some infrastructure in place. So what are we looking for in our current, next year, or upcoming year needs, as well as 5 and 10 years down the line? We don't want to be putting in infrastructure that's going to be completely obsolete in a year, or we don't want to be going so far overboard that some of our infrastructure doesn't get used and it just goes to waste. That's an important aspect for me. The audit should also include the intangible or the non-tangible items, such as the policies and where the teaching spaces and what things we're going to be asking of the students and the community going forward, payment schedule for school-owned computers, insurance premiums, those kind of things that are not actual devices or cables and plugins. I think it's really important as we develop this TIA and the team comes together, this committee comes together, we say, what are our guiding questions? And these are just a few that were sort of offered up in the Hanover Research reference material. And I'll read just a few of these because there are some really great ones from a district administration future leader type of situation. What kind of professional learning are we going to have to come up with in order to make this work in the future and make this align to our goals and our mission? What are the resources available to help fund this transition? We'll talk about that in a few minutes. And also, how exactly is the technology going to be used in education? That really is one of the driving factors for all of this. And of course, you can see that I have some guiding questions for the other subgroups on the committee as well. All very important, all things that I as a future district leader would need to refer back to and make sure that my team is going to those and referencing those as they develop their outlines. Okay, the outline of the entire TIA. I love this one from the Gulen reference. It offers very, very simple 3 key points: infrastructure, instruction, and staff. So when we're building the TIA, we've got to make sure that we're taking into consideration the age of the equipment, the data systems, the disaster recovery. If we have a major power outage or there's some major breach in the system, what kind of support tools do we have for that infrastructure? The instruction, what type of interventions do we have? Do we have the lesson planning component? Is that tied to the teacher review? And then the training and professional development we talked about earlier, that's going to be critical. That's something that my current district does a lot of, and we make sure that all staff is trained properly on anything that we ask them to use with students. And then for the staff, this is the staff that's going to be managing the technology updates and managing the oversight of all of the technology as we go on. They need to be specifically trained, so we're not just having 1 or 2 people that can do everything, but the whole group needs to be able to manage and collaborate to fix issues. They need to be cross-trained, and that was an important aspect in the reference material. Not just having a person who is only good at the network security, having multiple people that can handle that network security in case that person decides to leave or change jobs or move into something else. We need to have people that can step into those positions without any kinks in the chain. The supporting resources, this was something that I really took that I will take with me going into a future district leadership position, is the amount of resources that are available for tech education, not only just for startup funding through E-rate programs and the SSAE grants, and of course our Title I, IV, and IDEA programs. That's a lot of money that districts are already aware of, but some things I was not aware of that are outside of the district and outside of the federal government or state government or local government are different non-district supporting resources like Alliance for Excellent Education, Project Red, and Digital Promise, Education Superhighway, and National Clearinghouse. These are all massive organizations that offer great support, not only financial, but in terms of information and education for the district. There are various workshops. Microsoft offers several. If you are a Microsoft district, they offer complimentary workshops. Funding in the future, something that should be done by committee and be a part of the TIA is future funding. This should be done through grants and procurement of money outside of the school district. There are some funds available currently from the American Rescue Act of 2021, and this is kind of in response to COVID. A lot of districts have money available to spend, and it is very specifically earmarked. So that E-rate is one of those also from the Department of Education in many states has E-rate funding available. And then, of course, the local community. I know in my community there are several businesses that will sponsor a certain dollar amount for a certain specific tech need. That's happened before, whether it be piano library or a piano lab or a recording studio or those types of things for the tech classes that we offer. 3D printers, robot materials, and gear for robot classes and robotics. That's something that's great that goes on in my district. The student privacy is a huge concern right now, and as we see, so much data is collected, and this is something that we have to have as a staff in place, some protocol ready to go. We have to understand the state and federal privacy laws. We also have to understand the communication strategy for data privacy. What exactly are we going to expect from our students, parents, and community when it comes to keeping their data safe, as well as what do they expect from us and our abilities as a technology staff to keep their students' information secure when it's being used on our system. Security for the actual network and the actual system. This is something that I learned the most of doing this module. Is I did not realize how much security should be in place for the school administration to safeguard against unwanted traffic. There's intrusion detection, firewalls, and there's load balancing, things that I didn't understand until reading this material. All of the uninterruptible power supplies that the district should have, and just managing the entire network is a huge undertaking. One of the big components is the community support, all the partners and the people that need to be involved. They need to be active in the school community, and I think it's important because they need to have faith in us as district leaders that we're spending their tax dollars appropriately and wisely, and I think having them on this committee is a great way for them to be able to see that for themselves. Now, when the TIA is actually complete, the work is far from over. Not only do you have to review the data and the information and make decisions about purchases and orders, there needs to be a future readiness plan, the upkeep component of this TIA. Then there's the physical work, actually going into the buildings and punching holes through brick walls and running cables and running lines and mounting Wi-Fi boxes and modems and ports and all those types of things need to be done. Then we need to go to the Board of Education and say, what policies do we need to update, whether it be in teacher contract revisions or just actual board policies. Then we need to look at our student handbook and see if there's any revisions that need to take place there, whether it's expectations or consequences for misuse. We need to look at all that. Of course, parent communication is going to be key, keeping parents in the loop for exactly what's going on. Then I think it'd be kind of cool to have some sort of community event when you actually do a device rollout, whether it be a one-to-one laptop initiative or a new computer lab or new MiFi boxes for at-home use or for students, some sort of community event that says, hey, we're all in this together and this is for your students and for your use. The takeaways I listed here, and I'm not going to read each one individually, but I spoke to most of them in my presentation. The takeaways I really incorporated into the information. That way I felt like I had a great grasp on them. There's one that I want to touch on with the technology planning for growth. I think that making sure that the staff knows as a leader, I'm not trying to play gotcha. This isn't me trying to find out what you're doing wrong. It's trying to find out what we can do better together. And finally, my resources page are listed there. And I appreciate your time watching my presentation, and I look forward to seeing some of yours. Thank you.